Now, when it comes to emotional flashbacks, some emotional flashbacks have the ability to stop us from being our most authentic self. They keep us from doing things that at one time we loved to do. So as a result, we never feel like we're fully us again. And some emotional flashbacks have a different outcome. They have the ability to re-traumatize us. And so they keep us from feeling as if we can heal. They keep us feeling as if the trauma is still alive. They are one of the things that keeps us stuck. So let's talk about what exactly is an emotional flashback. And I want to read this directly from the book, Complex PTSD from Surviving to Thriving. Highly recommend it. When we start shifting into learning about CPTSD, we really start learning how to shift out of the trauma. We start learning how to get us back. And on that note, I want to remind you guys that in the School of Transformation, that's what we do. We meet together live and we do the inner work to work through CPTSD together. So we go over things like emotional flashbacks, harsh inner critic, the drama triangle, codependency. In April, we're doing somatic parts work. We have EFT sessions, breathwork sessions, and it's all designed to create a community of people that are on the same journey. So if this resonates with you, make sure you check out those live meetings. So let's get back to that definition. Again, this is taken from the book Complex PTSD from Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker. And he describes in chapter 8, Managing Emotional Flashbacks, he says, emotional flashbacks are intensely disturbing regressions, also known as amygdala hijackings, to the overwhelming feeling state of your childhood abandonment. When you're stuck in a flashback, fear, shame, and/or depression can dominate your experience. These are some common experiences of being in an emotional flashback. You feel little, fragile, and helpless. Everything feels too hard. Life is too scary. Being seen feels excruciatingly vulnerable. Your battery seems to be dead, and in the worst flashbacks, an apocalypse feels like it will imminently be upon you. And when you're trapped in a flashback, you are reliving the worst emotional times of your childhood. So that's his definition. I think it's an amazing definition. We have to understand how trauma memories are stored. Trauma memories are stored in a part of our brain where it's not done in sequence. So for example, yes, if I'm at a concert and I'm going into a flashback because every concert I went to, I was made to feel so much shame or I was emotionally abandoned, I'm going to feel that emotional abandonment because of that concert that I had with my ex-narcissist. There's no time in the areas of our brain that hold trauma. And so if I'm feeling emotional abandonment, that part of my brain might just go back to when I was 3 years old and feeling that same emotion because it's still unhealed. And so it doesn't matter if I felt it at 3, at 10, at 25. To my nervous system, it's all the same. Now, when it comes to emotional flashbacks, something I learned the hard way is that they do not go away on their own. They were not created on their own, so they're not gonna just dissipate. Trust me, I tried. I waited. I was like, that person is gone. I'm allowed to be myself. I'm allowed to do this. I'm allowed to do that. And my body was like, oh no, that's not allowed. Because the embedded stories in our nervous system, they become the normal, the default. They also are more safe than change. Because even if emotional flashbacks make you unhappy, right, and take away from the quality of your life, which they do, your nervous system is like, well, honey, you're alive. Why rock the boat? So you might be thinking, okay, this makes sense. Yes, yes, and yes, this is happening in my life. What can I do about it? So let's move on to that. The first thing I would recommend is making a list of the current triggers in your life that are disrupting your happiness. It could be when somebody is late. It could be when somebody's upset. It could be when somebody talks over you. It doesn't matter what it is. Find the trigger, the external stimuli. Now, something we tend to do wrong on our recovery is we try to get other people to know our triggers and get them to stop triggering us. But what we're actually doing is avoiding what's in our body because trauma gets stuck in the body. And we're trying to get other people to not activate it, which can be helpful for a brief period of time. But the reality is that if it's in the body, it will find a way to come up. And so the most empowering thing we can do is to really start uncovering what's there. Even though emotional flashbacks are triggered from the present, from something happening in your present life, they really have less to do about the present and they're more about the past. And what I mean by that is, yes, something can upset you and irritate you, right, in the present. That doesn't mean that that's an emotional flashback. Normal emotions and emotional flashbacks are not the same thing. So for example, let's say somebody forgets to text me back and I get upset because I was waiting for that text and I needed to know some information. It's normal to feel upset about that. It's not normal to get flung into a shame spiral. I have so much emotion coming up that I wind up in a trauma response of either fight, where now I'm aggressive and I go off on the person for something really small. That's a sign that I'm coming from an emotional flashback. Maybe I flee and I ghost the person now because they did that to me. So now I'm never going to be around them again. So I don't feel that again. So it's really the degree of our response is going to help us to know if we're in an emotional flashback. And if the emotion we're feeling is not on par with the situation, that's an emotional flashback. But we still want to make a list of our present triggers because that's what we're conscious of, right? We need a starting place because everything else is in our subconscious. Step 2 is finding the meaning, because the meaning of whatever's happening in the moment that is causing the emotional flashback, that is outside of your conscious awareness. You're not choosing to get flung into an emotional flashback, but your nervous system has a meaning that is outside of your conscious awareness. In order to find the meaning, I'm going to give you an example of something that helped me and how understanding and uncovering the meaning, how it changed how I was able to show up. So there was a time in my life where I was in a relationship with somebody that loved to use the silent treatment. No surprise there, right? And at one time in my life, when that was done to me, it was like torture. Now, obviously, when somebody ignores you and treats you like the dead, you're going to feel hurt and pain. That is normal. But the amount of torture that I felt in my body at the time, I didn't realize why. But after learning about all of this, I realized that it was an emotional flashback. And so I had to ask myself, when this person does that and they give me the silent treatment, what am I making that mean about me that is causing all this pain? And meanings can hide. So what I mean by that is the meaning, the real meaning is always going to be an I am statement, and it's going to be something painful that you believe about yourself. But it can hide behind how you're seeing the other person. So at first, when I was trying to find the meaning, I was like, oh, that means, he doesn't love me. I am rejected. And I still had to dig deeper because that was still about him, right? He doesn't love me. And then I'm rejected. Well, the reality is in life, we can be rejected by different people. And obviously it's going to be more painful, somebody that we love or that we think loves us. But I could still feel like the degree of what I was going through by this silent treatment behavior, it felt life or death. So I had to dig deeper and I had to ask myself, well, if he rejects me, what does that mean about me? And I was in shock to realize that my nervous system, not my conscious self, my nervous system was making that mean that means I am unworthy. And then digging deeper, I was like, well, if I'm unworthy, what does that mean? Well, that means, why am I even alive? When I came face to face with the story in my nervous system, I was quite in shock because basically what was happening was the second I was going to be ignored by that person, the second I was going to receive the silent treatment, my nervous system so quickly was reaching the conclusion that I didn't even deserve to be alive. It went through the sequence of meanings so fast, and it was reaching that conclusion immediately. Now, by peeling it back and uncovering the meaning, it changed everything. Because now my conscious mind could actually see what was going on inside, why I was reacting the way I was reacting, and I was able to give my brain a choice. I was like, okay, well, when he or this person gives me the silent treatment, is that behavior evidence that I'm not even worthy to be alive? And my conscious self was like, no, like that's insane. And so it gave my brain the choice to let go of that old pattern that was not even in my conscious awareness. And what happened was, did the other person change? No. Did they get better? No. They probably got worse and more covert, but I began to change. And that's the beauty of really uncovering what is happening on an unconscious level, we start getting us back. So I hope this information helps you to start understanding how emotional flashbacks might be affecting you in your present day life. And I do want to let you know that obviously this is not 100% you do this and you're healed. This is what helps you to start uncovering your patterns. And with some emotional flashbacks, just having that cognitive understanding is enough. But with others, we do have to learn how to build our capacity, to be with strong emotion that we have suppressed in the body. And that takes time. And that's what I specialize in the School of Transformation, really combining the mind and cognitive learning with somatic modalities that help your mind and body to heal and work together on this journey. So again, make sure you check out the school if these videos resonate with you and you want to dive deeper on your CPTSD recovery journey.